Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hey Lamb, my podcast that is completely dedicated to Mariah Carey. I'm your host Matt, aka Treacle. Perhaps you know me from my YouTube channel Treacle, which is completely dedicated to Mariah as well. I just love Mariah. I love the woman so damn much. So yeah, check out my YouTube channel Treacle. Maybe you are watching this on my YouTube channel because this is a video podcast, so you can watch on my channel or you can listen where all good podcasts are available. You can also get involved on Instagram. Follow the Hey Lamb podcast on Instagram, so it's at Hey Lamb podcast, and you can meet the guests and get a little bit more information about them and get involved and let me know what you think of episodes and maybe shape some future content. Let me know which topics you would like me to discuss and maybe which guests you would like to see on the podcast as well. So today we are going to be having a little discussion about Mariah's UK album sales, chart position, certifications, and things like that. Because part of my enjoyment doing my YouTube channel and my new favorite thing with this podcast right now is to have conversations with other lambs. I've really enjoyed connecting with a lot of new friends through social media off the back of doing my YouTube channel, and everyone's got different interests. So some people are musicians themselves, so we talk about the musical side. Personally, I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, so I enjoy leaning into conversations with people that have got that background knowledge. Other people have got backgrounds in fashion, media, so everyone kind of has different opinions and outlooks when it comes to Mariah as a songwriter, musician, fashion icon, gay icon, all these different things. And one person that I've met fairly recently has been Will from Manchester. So I'm going to bring Will in. Hey, Will, welcome to the podcast.
How are we doing, guys? You okay?
How are you? It's great to have you.
I'm really well. Looking forward to it. Having a good conversation about Mariah. Can't think of anything better to do on a Saturday.
Exactly. What else should we be doing on a Saturday? So we met through social media, and what I love about what you were bringing to me is you've got a background in, chart geeking out, and that's a hobby of yours. So that is why you're here today, because you're going to educate the children and educate me as well, I'm sure. So very happy that you are here with us, and also we are welcoming back Taz from Ireland. Hey Taz.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Is the struggle real today? Are we feeling fresh? Are we feeling good, everyone? Taz is joining us from Ireland and Will is joining us from Manchester. So, audience of my YouTube channel and now the podcast, Taz, they've met you a few times. You're a friend of mine and a regular guest, I hope. So, but Will, you have been on my channel just once. We spoke about vinyl very, very briefly. So just let everyone know a little bit about yourself and, how you enjoy, tracking the charts and everything like that. Let's hear a little bit.
Well, that's something that I've done really since I was a child. In the UK here, every Sunday we used to have the charts. I used to sit down with my little notebook, writing down exactly where everybody got to, writing down the top 40. And I was just so interested in that. And then obviously the music that I was particularly interested in, I started taking a massive interest in where they were in the charts. And Mariah was my number one. So that's why my interest in the charts, because Mariah was doing so well in the charts. That's where my interest grew, really.
I remember listening to charts, but I was not with a notebook writing things down and everything. So it was, I was interested, but I wasn't, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention and I did care because, I feel like it's like when you're young, like teens, 20s, like, you have an artist or a band or someone that you stan and you really want to know. I remember wanting to know, were the Spice Girls going to get that number one again with a new single? Which song of theirs got blocked at number 2? It didn't make number 1.
That was Stop.
It was Stop. It stopped at number 2. I wanted to say Stop.
It stopped at number 2. Yeah.
I felt the pain at the time. But you were there listening and you had a notebook.
I had a notebook. I used to write the charts in every single week. It was actually a Spice Girls notebook. So, ironically, I had a Spice Girls notebook. I used to write down the top 40 every week. I'd study it like, this has climbed this many positions. This has gone down this many positions. Like, I don't know why it was so fascinating to me. I used to sit there with the radio recording it. Because remember, we used to record. Did you ever used to do that? Record on cassette? We used to listen to the radio and used to press record, and then if you really liked them, you went out and bought it. But really, you had it anyway. So Like it was so fascinating to me. I'd listen back to it throughout the week, ready for the next Sunday.
Because here in Ireland, like there was no shows even like Top of the Pops or anything like that to even say, like I'm sure that was obviously referencing maybe like the number one artist this week, or would probably reference charts. It was never a big thing here in Ireland, so it's just something that I never, from my side, that's why it wouldn't be the Mariah track geek. But I think it's very interesting to get someone's opinion on, like your journey through how you see she's done in the UK.
UK are massive on the charts. Like Top of the Pops is based on the charts. The papers used to print the charts every single Monday. Do you remember that? The Sun newspaper used to make a big, massive deal of printing the charts. It was a massive, massive thing over here. If you got number one, like sometimes Spice Girls used to get number one, it was like front page news. Like Spice Girls' third Christmas number one. It was a massive thing with like the charts in the UK.
That was my thing growing up. It was the charts are a really big thing, and I just took that as granted, like it's like that in every country, but actually no, maybe not.
Would you have done that with friends or like with your family, or just your own personal interest?
Do you know it's funny actually? So as a child, I used to go to my nana's every Sunday, and I used to have all my cousins there, and I used to make them take it in turns. So because the charts was on from 4 till 7, so it was 3 hours. I didn't want to sit in the room for 3 hours on my own. So I used to make them take it in turns. It's like, right, it's your turn this week to listen to the charts. So I had 5 cousins that I used to alternate it with. So yeah, that's how we did it. Like, it was like, oh, it's your, one of them like, oh, do I have to? Can you do it instead? But I was like, well, one of you are doing it because I'm not sitting upstairs on my own for 3 hours.
Did you keep these notepads? Are they like scrapbook notepads that you still have somewhere?
I feel like they probably still are at my mum and dad's somewhere. I haven't looked through them in a long time, but I feel that they probably are in the like loft or the cellar or something, because I'm sure my mum would be like, we're never getting rid of them.
I'm guessing part of it is that it becomes routine. It's a weekly thing that happens.
Yeah.
We just said it was quite a big thing here in the UK, and newspapers publishing it. But for you personally, what was it? What is it that's been interesting or like draws you to it, like particularly for it to become part of your weekly routine, and for you to be signing cousins up and making shifts and rotations? Like, what is it that you got from that personally?
No, I used to have such a massive interest in music. I've always had a massive interest in music ever since I was a little child. And I think I'm honestly not exaggerating. I've got videos actually. My mum's got videos of me on a VHS and me dancing around to Janet Jackson when I was like 2 years old, and I was just so invested in what the songs were doing. And Top of the Pops was a massive thing in our house from a childhood. Like my mum and dad were really into it. My mum was a massive fan of Cher, Tina Turner, like all the gay icons pretty much. So yeah, she kind of had my numbers marked from the day dot. But yeah, so I was always in a musical household.
It is interesting. I kind of think back, and I wouldn't consider myself someone who grew up in a musical household. My parents are not musical, but I was drawn to music at a young age, and there were certain songs that my mum remembers playing that I used to love to dance around the living room to. Like, we've all been there. And I did learn, I used to play, I could read music for like, I think year 7, year 8, because music was pushed a bit, encouraged a bit at my school. And I did study and play saxophone for a couple of years. And I was very proud that I could play Unchained Melody without any sheet music. Like, I learned that. And I really wish I'd stuck with music a bit more, because I do love music, I do enjoy music, and I used to sing and do choirs and things, but not like as like a main thing. Like, I do a little bit of sport and a little bit of music, but it never really was like a strong thing. And now I've got a particular family I'm really friendly with, and they are all musical. They're music teachers, they're composers, they're producers. They've got a grand piano in their living room. It's gorgeous, and I'd love just to be there and be surrounded by people that are so connected to music, because now I just feel like I'm on the outside looking in, like I'm a fan of music, and I've always been a fan of music. It's not just Mariah, it is music for me, but I've never really been, never had that way to connect. I never really became a good singer or a good player. So I find that interesting that a connection you had was how the music is performing and how it's been, how it's being received, because I think we just all connect with it in different ways. Taz, how much was music, in your life and in your household growing up?
My mother would have liked that Tina Turner, Patsy Cline. It was like a wide range. It could be literally like that. But music wasn't a major thing. I'm not from a musical family or anything. I was, as I said, I never really was into the chart thing. I'm obviously, if I heard that she got number one, I'd be delighted. But it's just I'd be more pushing, I guess, for her Billboard number ones. But
Yeah.
for, I suppose, yourself, Will, would you would you be as invested today, or do you think it's something you kind of step? I'm sure you still take notice of the charts, but maybe is it something that's as important to you now as maybe back then, or do you think it?
I think that the way the charts work nowadays, I don't want to say they're fixed because they're not fixed, but if you're not getting on the main playlist, you can't even chart on Spotify or Apple Music. You can't even chart. It's become impossible. So whereas before it was a bit more like, oh, who's buying what? It's more now who's got on the playlist. So it's not really down to the individual.
How do you get onto a playlist? Is it the artist pay to get on a playlist, or is this just some industry insiders thinking?
That's the big question. Like, no layer. This is kind of like what Mariah's been accused of for years. Do you know? Oh my God, was it payola? It is payola, isn't it?
I was waiting. Who's gonna be the first person to say payola? Let's go. Go on. Go off. Go in.
I do not think that Mariah is guilty of payola, by the way. Let me just clarify that. But
let's break that down for those. Let's break that down a little bit for those that aren't aware or haven't heard the term payola. What do we mean by that?
So payola is more of an American thing than the UK thing, because in America, radio play counts towards Billboard chart, whereas in the UK it doesn't. So you could pay a radio station to play the song more times, so pretty much guaranteed to get in the charts. Or you could say, if you play this many times a day, we will give you this exclusive for this artist's first play of this song. So that's how they used to guarantee radio play. That really reflected their Billboard chart position. Whereas in the UK, you could never do things like that. You had to. They did have cases where people would go out and buy the CD single in bulk, for example, but they never had. They were never able to manipulate it like they were in America. In the UK, it's never been like that. So I think that's what makes the UK charts. So what it used to make it such a massive deal, because it was 100% down to the public taste. A lot of it did help, like how much exposure you got. So if you got played on the radio, or if you got TV appearances, like if you released an amazing song but nobody knew it was out, then you weren't going to chart because nobody knew it was there. So there is a lot of things behind the scenes that do make a difference.
People hear payola, and when I've seen people discuss it online, they translate it as literally paying for plays, and I'm sure that is the case in some instances, whatever, but it isn't as literal as that is a good way you've explained it there, that sometimes it's more like favors, exclusives, or, well, you don't play that artist enough, so therefore you were not invited to that listening party of their new album, and things like that, and how close you are in terms of, when the artist is on tour and there's a concert, and are you front row or are you like off in the stand somewhere? I think it's a business and it's an industry, and payola has got many different applications and interpretations. But I think, it's a good reminder right here and now for me that it hasn't been that way in the UK. It's been a pure chart.
So in the UK, then it's literally down to a DJ's taste in music. So would, like, for example, if Trevor Nelson loves a Mariah maybe track, it's down to him how many times he played that in the hour. It's literally personal preference for the DJ, is it? Or is there an onus to play a new track issued by Sony a certain amount of times, or how does that work?
What I do know, I don't know specifically. I do actually know, for going back to the payola thing, a DJ did actually get sacked recently in the UK he got found like that he was getting paid to play a specific artist and actually got sacked. That was in the news recently, and that's the first time I've ever heard of that. Really,
I missed that.
But that was on radio. I don't know if it's Radio 1 or BBC Extra, one of them. I don't know, so don't quote me. But it definitely did happen recently. But what they have in the UK is they have like an A list, a B list, and a C list on the radio station. So if you're in A list, you get played, 10 times a day. If you're in B list, you get played 7 times a day. If you're in C list, you get played 5 times a day. Nobody knows. Well, I personally don't know. There might be people that do know that are in the industry. If anybody who's listening knows, but I don't. They're all fighting to get in that A list. So there's only so many amount of people that can play 10 times a day. I don't. And then there's a lot of ageism in the UK. Like, that's a massive issue at the minute. For example, Mariah specifically, because she's a certain age, Radio 1 won't play her. So if Radio 1 aren't going to play her, then she's not going to get as much exposure as the younger artists,
Yeah.
like Dua Lipa, for example, who's like the radio darling. But in saying that, the radio isn't as influential as it used to be now because of streaming, for example.
It's always a shift in dynamic, isn't there? Because I was aware that like there is structure, and I was going to ask you, what Tesla, you know, how is that decided? Because I remember when I was looking a little bit into this, you know, back in the day, I think it was more like Emancipation era, but it was like, oh, like Mariah's on the C playlist versus the B playlist, and or she won't get on the A playlist, you know, these days. And like you say, as soon as they are in like an age bracket, it's like, oh, you're not Radio 1 material, darling. You're now Radio 2, or, you know, and things like that. So there is a structure in place that kind of not dictates where, you know, but it does limit exposure. Like you say, if you're not going to get on Radio 1, then you're not going to get a certain amount of exposure, and that is, well, you can't be on Radio 1 because you are a legacy artist or you're above a certain age. So there are some kind of control measures in place, but like you just said, it's not like a law now, because we can all stream, we can all play on YouTube and everything, and all of that counts. What I want to get into, we're going to take a very quick break, but what I want to get into when we come back is to look at some of Mariah's statistics over here in the UK and also in Ireland, because I haven't looked at these in a long, long time. So Will and Taz, you're going to help refresh my memory and each other's memories. We are going to get stuck into some of Mariah's album sales. We will be right back. Hey Lambs, I want you to tell me what you would like to hear discussed here on the Hey Lamb podcast in coming episodes. I have a list of ideas, but I'm also open to suggestions and even requests to join in and appear on the podcast. If you're a massive lamb with something to say, or even if you just have a great idea to put forward, I want to hear from you. Make sure you're following Hey Lamb on Instagram and get in touch. Follow Hey Lamb podcast on Instagram, and don't be shy, go ahead and slide into the DMs. So, Will, you are the resident chart geek of the three of us. So I would love for you to refresh my memory and take me down memory lane and talk to us a little bit about Mariah's album chart history in the UK.
So Mariah has actually had a really successful career in the UK. I feel that like it is underrated actually. A lot of people seem to think that Mariah's local, as in like she's had success in America, but not in the UK, or not even Europe really. But that is absolutely false. If you look at the best-selling album artists of females in the UK, Mariah's in the top 10. So all our local artists are not selling as much as Mariah. So the fact that people think that she's local to America is rubbish. She's absolutely massive in the UK, especially in the 90s. Absolutely massive
Huge.
In the UK. Multi-platinum albums. So let's just get that out there straight away. Mariah is definitely a success in the UK.
You heard it here.
I hate it when people say that Mariah's local to America and like she's not big out in Europe. That's absolutely rubbish. So let me just get that out first and foremost.
Clear and clarified. We love to hear it.
I'll go through like each album, how much it sold, and like compare it to the newer ones, maybe to the older ones, and we can have a look at the sales and stuff. First of all, I just want to, in case people don't understand how it works in the UK, it's a bit different specifically to America. You get certified in the UK automatically ever since that come into play in 1995. So as soon as you sell 300,000 copies, as soon as someone buys it at the till or someone buys it on iTunes or the streams that equate to a sale, automatically it gets certified. Whereas in America, the label have to pay for the albums to be certified. So an album might have sold 1 million copies in America, which is platinum, 10 years ago. But if the label don't pay for to be certified, 10 years later, it's still uncertified, even though technically it might have sold 3 million by that point.
See, just there, I just want to absorb that because that is clarification for me. So thank you for that. I'm sure that's clarified things for listeners, because you do hear that in America, like, oh, but it hasn't been updated, or they haven't requested or paid for it. And I'm like, I never really fully comprehended that. So that's a big difference between UK and
A
America.
massive difference, a massive difference. I actually put a tweet out the other day and said, right, do you know what? If that label aren't going to pay for them certifications, these lambs are going to have to pull together and do a GoFundMe or something, because we'll do it ourselves.
Is it very expensive?
Yeah.
Like, it must be big money, is it?
I have actually no idea how much that costs. I don't know if it must, the amount of uncertified albums, it must cost a lot of money. They also do it very different as well in America. That's another thing that I need to stress, actually, that they do different to the UK. The UK is based purely on sales. So you get certified as soon as, like I said, like you buy a CD or you buy it on iTunes, or the streams equate to one sale. Whereas in America, if you send 10,000 copies of Emancipation to Target, that's classed as 10,000. So that can go towards the certification. So it's not actually physically.
Even if
it's not
just
sold.
sat in their warehouse or sat on their shelves. Right.
Yeah, it's sent out, it's shipped. So if it's been shipped, listen, if I am incorrect in this, anybody can like write in the comments or say Will's wrong, but I'm 99.9% sure. Obviously, I don't live in America, so I'm just going from what I've read. So this is why when they sent out the red, the blue, what was it? I always forget myself. The rainbow. So there was purple.
Rainbow. We had purple, yellow, red, and blue.
Exactly. So if they did 5,000 of each of them, that's altogether 20,000. So it's more in total. So that like get more shipped out. It's closer to getting it certified then. Or if you send out like a sparkly one to Target of the debut, because the debut is one of the massive ones that they're trying to get certified for Diamond, which is 10 million sales. And there's only 2 other female artists that have got that currently. So they're waiting for Mariah to get that third. That's what the lambs really, really want, that third Diamond album. So that they can say, because Whitney's got a Diamond album. I'm sure the other one is either, I think it's Shania Twain. Yeah, it's Shania Twain. So they want Mariah to join them with a third Diamond album. So obviously with the debut album, they did the different, was it the sparkly one they sent to Target?
We had a bottle green, which I think
that was it.
Was the Walmart exclusive.
Exactly. So they're sending that out because they want to get that boost more sales to get it certified, because they know that the pressure is on for that to get to 10 million. So that's how it works in America, whereas in the UK, completely different again, like the charts, in terms of like, they don't include the radio play. In the charts in the UK, a sale is a sale. It doesn't matter if you send out 10,000 copies to, I don't know, HMV. If that sits in HMV for 10 years, that's the HMV that's overstocked. So then they'll have to put it in a sale, reduce the price because they want to get rid of stock.
I feel like it's familiar information, but I couldn't have turned to you, Taz, and explained that to you. Like, it was maybe somewhere in the back of my memory, but I was kind of faintly aware. Is this news to you, Taz, or is it kind of familiar?
I was actually got some of this information from a friend of mine who knows someone in the IRMA, which is Irish Recorded Music Association, and they were saying that, like, he was actually giving me a breakdown just before, for the purposes of this video, because I want to get my own head around it as well. And like up to 1996, it was based on shipments as well. So like that, if they made, I don't know, whatever amount of, say, music boxes, it was based on what was actually produced as opposed to what was sold. They flipped it then 96 onwards here in Ireland to match the UK system. But I don't know why it's not like globe. Like, this is what annoys me sometimes about these things, like, because it's one rule for one, and it should be universal. How can you? Yeah. How can you really quantify in 2 different countries and then like hold back the results? Or it really, for me, makes sense that it would be counted from the sale.
And this is just, we're talking USA, UK, and Ireland. I mean, that's complicated enough just comparing those 3 countries.
Yeah.
So, Will, we're going to jump into some UK figures. So if we are if we're going to hear some sales figures, so these are, how up to date are these going to be? Do we know?
So in terms of specific sales, it's really, really difficult to get their hands on them. And we rely, us as fans or people that are interested in the charts, we rely on the official charts, like publishing them. Occasionally they do it, like they'll do, oh, this is Mariah's top 10 best sellers. Usually they do it if she's released a new album or if she's gone to number 1. They'll be like, oh, wow, we're talking about Mariah. This is her top 10 best-selling albums and this is how much it's sold. But other than them specifically giving us a figure, it's very difficult to find out. So people base the sales on the certification.
Okay.
So in the UK, how it works is we've got silver, which is 70,000. So that's 70,000 copies sold. We have gold, which is 100,000 copies sold. And then we have platinum, which is 300,000 copies sold. And then if you sell 600,000, it's classed as 2 times platinum, 900,000, 3 times platinum, etc.
Cool.
So, yeah, so that's how it works. So in terms of getting specific sales, we really, really rely on that information being given to us.
It's an ever-changing number. Like, we're sat here discussing it, and the numbers are going up because people are buying things. So it's an ever-changing number. We
ever-changing.
Don't have direct access to those numbers, but there is some kind of master database. And if someone wants to tap into it and go, well, there is something newsworthy happening with that artist, we want to know what the current figures are. So certain people within media, press, the industry, they have access. And then we're like, oh, they've just published an up-to-date number. We then have to kind of spot it. It's complicated. It's complicated.
It is complicated. It's so complicated. And it's really frustrating because I just, like, especially as a fan of an artist, you're just constantly waiting for them to give you them dates.
Yeah.
I just got to point out as well, there's one major difference that you actually said, Taz, that I should have said before. Like you said, it used to be based on shipments. Up until 1995 in the UK, it was also different. So it changed in the UK in 1995. The BPI, which is the people that give out the certifications, took over in 1995. So anything prior to 1995 is a very grey area for them.
Well, let's dive in. Let's have you throw some figures, and maybe we can kind of reflect on that. Like, is that going to be up to date? How reliable is that? You know, so I've got no idea what her album sales are in the UK. So go ahead and school us all.
Right. So we're starting obviously with the debut. That actually did go platinum in the UK. So that's 300,000 copies sold. Yeah, it reached number 6 in the charts. And the interesting thing about the debut is, like I said, this is before 1995. So the BPI had kind of nothing to do with this certification. And there's a bit of a grey area in terms of tracking the sales from before 1995. But I believe that the debut didn't actually go platinum until later on. I think when Music Box was a massive success, people were like, oh, let's go and buy her, her first 2 albums. The shops were pushing them because the first album in the UK wasn't, like the first era, should I say, sorry. She only really had Vision of Love. The rest of the singles weren't really a success in the UK.
It does make sense. I'm sure when we get to Music Box, we're going to hear some crazy big numbers. And I'm not surprised that at that point where she's only got a couple of albums out, that is a massive, massive hit. So then, you go back and you get the earlier one. So that makes sense to me that the monster success of something like Music Box would help boost her and dramatically increase the numbers of the debut. I'm sure that's happened with other artists as well. So that was one times
platinum. Yeah, so 300,000 sales. Reached number 6 in the chart, so it still charted really respectively. Like, especially after only having one single that was massive. Here in the UK, like, to have a successful album campaign, you usually have to have a few hits, like, to get a album that sells decently. Like, usually one hit isn't really enough over here. It went platinum, which is incredible. Anything that goes platinum in the UK is classed as a success.
A big deal.
So. Yeah, it's a big deal, and it went platinum, so it definitely, for a debut, it did its job, definitely. Emotions also went platinum and charted higher, actually. So whereas the debut got to number 6, Emotions got to number 4. We don't really have a figure of what it's sold specifically since. Well, not that I can find, and I've searched quite a lot, but if there's anybody who knows these figures who wants to comment, I would be sat there with my popcorn ready to take all that information in, because I would love to know. And I've looked and I cannot find it anywhere. So 300,000 we know is definitely sold. We know it's 1 times platinum. Again, incredible, especially for a second album, because as everybody knows, like, the second album is make or break.
I'm just going to jump in and say as well, before we get into the music about numbers, like, I know, like, this is kind of obvious, but just for maybe if you're going, this, like, back then, obviously you had to get out of your bum, get your bum off the seat and out into the store. You couldn't, there was no online order, you had to obviously physically go and purchase the album in a store, a queue or whatever you had to do, so I suppose that's important to note, that is, like, you had 300,000 people going out to a store.
Getting up off the sofa, putting their shoes on their feet, walking that pavement, lining up, and buying a physical copy. You had to really want that album. And I remember for me, it was the Emancipation era, it was Glitter era. Those were the ones where I'm a new lamb and I have to have my physical copy on release day, and it's before Oh, I pre-ordered on
Yes.
Amazon, and
I
I know
remember that.
100% it's going to. No, I will get my ass down to the store, and I will
Yeah.
get in line. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
As we go through, let's see if we have some Irish stats as well, rather than like going through twice. So Taz, I think you've got, because it's different because you're in Ireland, and so Will has given us UK stats. So Will, so you said for platinum in UK it's 300,000, and then
300,000, yeah.
gold was 100,000,
100, yeah.
and
Silver
silver was
70,000.
so yeah. So it starts silver 70, gold 100, platinum
Gold
300.
100.
What
Yeah,
Taz? What's the what are we with Ireland? Because it's its own place, it's its own country, but it's a smaller market, so it's obviously different numbers, right?
It's different numbers. I mean, a lot less numbers actually, because obviously you're a small country, small island, so it was probably easier to get your platinum here. Like I don't know. I think it was around the 15,000 mark to your platinum here, compared to
Right.
obviously I'd say 300,000 UK. But if 15,000 people got off their seats and went to the store and
Yeah,
bought the album,
yeah,
then that would,
yeah.
you know, so like it's a really small percentage. It's only like less than 5% of the UK sales would equate to the same kind of.
Yeah.
But that was for all artists. Not That's obviously not tailored to Mariah. Like that's for everyone, you know. So
When you're
exactly,
comparing like
you
the
know what I mean?
population, like 15,000 is actually a massive deal. Like obviously 300,000 sounds a lot more, but you need to be realistically about
Correlate.
the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see as we go through if we have stats. So we've covered UK debut and emotions. Have we got any stats or any awareness of how they performed in Ireland?
I don't have any details for emotions, but for the debut album, it's down as gold. So it's a gold. So that would obviously be less than. I'd imagine it's probably around the 8 or 10K mark.
I would have, if 15K is platinum, I reckon gold. That's probably a similar situation. I can imagine that the debut probably did well based on the back of the success of the other few albums. Because that's one thing in America. She took off from the get-go in America. In the UK and Ireland, it was a lot slower. It was like music box era that we're going to get to now, where it's like, wow, who is this massive star?
And that's where it really, really took off. We're going to take a really quick break, but yeah, we've covered debut, we've covered emotions, and then the numbers do get pretty big. So we're going to get straight back to that after a quick break. I hope you're enjoying listening to the Hey Lamb conversation. If you are, please do get behind us and support the podcast. Hey Lamb is a new podcast, and I need you to help spread the word. Tag a friend, tell a lamb, share the link, and let the good people know where to come. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I'll love you forever for leaving a 5-star review. You can also show your support with a tip. Buy me a drink at buymeacoffee.com. It's a great way to show support to your favorite content creators. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/heylamb and you can tip your host here with a drink. Cheers. How about showing some love to my wonderful guest today too? Connect with Will on Instagram, will.m1. His Twitter is this_is_will_. That's this_is_will_. Connect with Taz. His Instagram is Taz Conway. And Taz's Twitter is Taz Irish Lamb. Now, let's rejoin the conversation with Taz and Will. And we are back. So continuing to look at Mariah's UK album sales. Will, take us through the rest of the 90s. What stats have you got for us?
Come on, this is where it starts getting good. Here, when we hit Music Box, that's where everything starts exploding for Mariah. So hit number 1 in the charts, Mariah's first number 1 album in the UK, which obviously is incredible. And this is the good bit. 5 times platinum, 1.5 million sales sold. Incredible. That's where Mariah really hit a stride. After that was actually the Christmas album. This might really shock you. This actually, the Christmas album. What number do you think reached in the charts in the UK and is still the peak? What do you reckon? Do you reckon?
See, I'm trying to remember what All I Want for Christmas Is You did the first year. I don't. Oh God, did it go to number 2 on the first year, or did it have a quiet?
Number 2 in the singles, yeah.
Okay, so it did go to number 2. Okay, I've got no idea how well the album did. I don't think the album has been huge over here. I think we love the single, and I don't think the album over here gets anywhere near enough love in the UK. So I would say outside top 20.
What do you reckon, Taz? What would you be your guess chart?
I would, if I had to guess before Matt spoke, I would have said top 5. But look, again, I'm not trying to peak. So
number 32. It's But it is platinum. It is sold 300,000. So it's sold as many as the debut and Emotions, even though they reached the top 10. Sorry, Merry Christmas only reached 32. Let me just quickly point out another small difference between the UK and America at this point, because in America, one single with streaming, can dominate the album, and it can do really well in the album charts based on one single.
Mm-hmm.
In the UK, it averages out amongst the whole 10, 12 tracks on the album. So if, I don't know, track 10 is only getting 1,000 streams a day, whereas All I Want for Christmas is getting, I don't know, 300,000 streams a day, it averages down. So that's why the album sales don't match like they do in America. So in America, the album's getting to number 2, number 3, because it's all based off that one song that's doing well. Whereas in the UK, it averages out amongst them all. So that's why it doesn't rise as high.
You need a qualification just to keep up with all of this. This is crazy.
It's crazy the information that I actually know about these things. If it took as much interest in anything else, I'd be a multi-millionaire.
Music Box really is that beast.
In Ireland, I believe that's the biggest one, isn't it? Music Box.
Yeah, I think it is. Give me a moment here now. Just have a look where I'm at. Music Box, it is her biggest one here. It's 4 times platinum here.
And then she followed that up. So obviously, had Merry Christmas, but Daydream, she was back at number 1 in the UK. Another number 1 album. 2 times platinum. She's sold over, it's close to 700,000 sales. Nice. That was at the last time we got a figure. So it's probably sold a lot more since then as well also. Yeah. Especially with the vinyls. The vinyls have really helped the sales because they would have bumped them up even more.
Going to boost up.
See, this is the annoying thing as well. Sorry to go on a tangent here, but in the UK, we want the sales here because we want them to sell more here. Whereas if you're buying from the American web store, them sales don't go anywhere because they don't go towards the American chart. They don't go towards the UK chart because you have to. If you're buying it in America, you have to be shipped to America. If you're buying American, it's getting shipped to the UK. It doesn't pass as a sale towards the chart anywhere.
That's a really good point, because I have been purchasing my MC30 vinyl from America because, well, they announced it all on her American store, and then some of them were announced with UK retailers, but I'm like, well, you were too slow. I've already ordered it. But I would have preferred to order from UK because of 3 reasons. Firstly, there's no customs charges. Secondly, international shipping wouldn't have been a thing. But thirdly, now you're telling me I could have actually contributed towards her UK album sales,
chart,
which I never even thought of it that way. I just look at the product. I want the product. I want the products. But actually, well, yeah, you're thinking about it smarter than me. You're supporting her UK numbers.
You saying there, Will, that because it has a UK address or like an Irish address for me, that it doesn't even count in America then either. So it's dead in the water for everyone.
It's kind of, again, shipment, so it will go towards certification because it's being shipped. But in terms of the Billboard chart, it won't class as a sale, and it won't go towards the Billboard chart because it's not getting sent to an American address. So it doesn't go anything towards the chart. Wow. Even though, like, realistically, these vinyls probably wouldn't have charted that high because, like, the top charts are selling God knows how much, the new things. But in terms of the sales that contribute towards Billboard chart, if you're getting it shipped outside the UK, it's not, or outside America, sorry, it's not counting towards their chart either.
Well,
so lesson learned. You learn something new every day. Okay, Will, take us through the rest of the 90s.
Butterfly, again, another platinum album, amazing, number 2 in the UK charts, so it did really well over here. Then, was it the greatest hits after Butterfly, or was it the greatest hits before Rainbow?
You mean number 1s? We don't call,
number one.
Because she was very clear distinguishing number 1s was not a greatest hits.
Of course.
Yes. After Butterfly, we had number 1s.
Because that's another thing about the UK. The UK go massive for compilations, way more than Americans do. The UK are obsessed with compilations. Like greatest hits in the UK sell well more than studio albums.
Yeah, we love a good compilation. I remember, like, even as a kid, every Christmas, and it still happens every Christmas, you still get those TV commercials. There's still ads, and it's the greatest hits. It's a big thing.
It's a massive thing here.
Number 1s effectively was a greatest hits because it was a compilation. So I'm imagining it sold pretty well over here.
Yeah, 2 times platinum, a 3rd best-selling album in the UK.
Wow.
Reached number 10 in the charts, but it continues to sell. So the impressive thing as well is she's had a few greatest hits in the UK because she's had the greatest hits, the double CD. She's had number ones, and they're both her top selling albums.
Wow.
Because apart from Music Box, because we love a compilation in the UK. I don't know, is it like that in Ireland? Are they big on compilation, like greatest hits? Like it's a massive thing.
I think it's like more like, you know, those now CDs were back in the day, back probably then as well in the 90s was a big like thing that did push it. We actually a compilation of all the hot songs. They've always been kind of a big pusher on this side anyway, definitely.
And then anyway, carrying on to went to Rainbow. Unfortunately, Rainbow is the first album that Mariah had that's not gone platinum in the UK. So it's gone gold, and the last known sales that we have was around 210,000. So since that was in 2001, so it's been nearly 20 years. So we're waiting for that to go platinum. So it's close. It must be near the 300,000 mark now. If it was 210 in 2001, it must be near 300,000. So we're waiting for that one to go platinum, because then she'd have had all these platinum albums in a row.
Let's get that. Amazing. Yeah, let's get that stat refreshed. Whoever's in charge.
I'm just listening to what you're saying and looking at my own list, and actually all the certifications here in Ireland are the same for all the albums that you mentioned as well. So like, as you said, like the likes of Rainbow went gold, Platinum Butterfly, double platinum for Daydream, and 4-time platinum for Visa. It's actually all tallying up with the UK market.
It makes sense because you're our neighbour, Taz. You're a different market, you're a different country, but hey, we're neighbours. So you like what we like and we like what you like. It sells about the same in terms of like proportion. Yeah.
We'd always get the UK singles as well in the shops back in the day. Like if there were singles, it would be the UK single we'd get. It wouldn't be an Irish version of a single. So I think we were probably tailored into the one market. Whatever you'd be pushing, whatever promo was probably, you know, if you just came to the UK to talk, maybe an Irish radio station probably went to London to have their exclusive Mariah chat as well. You know.
Now the next one, which I find really interesting, is Glitter. So obviously we know it was the flop era, what have you. In the UK, it did reach the top 10. It got to number 10, but it's her first album to not be certified. So it's not even reached 70,000 sales. So it's still uncertified, but it's close to being. The last time that we heard the sales was a few years ago, and it was close to 60,000. So that was a while ago. That was before the whole Justice for Glitter and everything like that. And don't forget, that wasn't actually on streaming. So people had to physically buy that one, the Justice for Glitter, on iTunes. So the sales of that will actually have creeped up quite a lot recently.
That really could be a good one to get certified. And it's the 20th anniversary this year. Give us some UK-based vinyl orders, Mariah. Let's get that certified for you.
The thing is that it's a top 10 album, but it's uncertified. It's mad how the charts... I think that was a shift in music in general back then. As we said, the advent of Napster and all the different things coming into play, that it would affect an artist getting, you know, sales as well. So there's a lot of things in the background, as you said. There's a lot of variables that can impact, especially from then on. It's mad to think that's a top 10 album, but uncertified for even a silver.
It's
you know,
crazy. Yeah. It is, yeah. It is. It's a shame as well because it's such a good album, but that's a whole different subject. So after Glitter, Charm Bracelet, which again, that one actually did go certified gold, so there was an improvement upon Glitter, but it still isn't getting to the platinum status. But then came the Emancipation, and we know that was the big comeback.
Yeah,
massive success in the UK. It's Mariah's 4th best-selling album here. It's 2 times platinum. 671,000 sales last time it was registered, so massive success. Back in the top 10. A equals MC squared again went gold, so last time we heard like 135,000, so that did respectable. Number 3 in the charts. Memoirs, okay, it did all right. It went silver. It sold 80,000, which is respectable. Then it kind of tailed off a little bit. Then
we die off a bit now, I fear.
The second Christmas album didn't even reach the top 100, reached 101. So let's just try and avoid that completely. Me I Am, uncertified. It got to number 14, but the sales aren't great. And then Caution reached number 40, and the sales aren't even worth mentioning, unfortunately. So there was a massive kind of decline. But in all fairness, that is not just Mariah. That is every artist. That's when we skip to streaming, and albums have become kind of a thing of the past. So it isn't just Mariah that is suffering there, but there's obviously you can see the difference between when we went from album sales to streaming
I think there's a few things there at play because you've got album sales declining because the industry is different, and I hate to say it, like it is when Mariah was going for, she's changed her position in the game because Mariah in the 90s is in a different position than Mariah putting out Me I Am or Caution as like she now can put out an album because she wants to. It's more like a hobby album or like, oh, it's one for the lambs. It is different. It is a different thing. Just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, that's what I want to kind of finish on is, we can see the peak music box, then everything kind of trailed, sloped off, and we had a little bump in, a nice big bump with the emancipation, but it is what it is. Do we care? Does it matter? Is it about album sales in terms of the game? Does it matter for Mariah, to Mariah? What do you guys think? What do you think, Taz? Do we care that these numbers are lower with recent albums? Does Mariah care?
I think Mariah probably can't let herself be bogged down by these numbers, especially when you talk about what we mentioned a while ago about DJs not allowing her into the A-list. I mean, there should be exclusions for people like Mariah who've paved the way, who've set the standards. All the kids today use Mariah as their inspiration. I think artists that have proven the way, that have had the figures, the albums, the quadruple platinum, if they drop a single today, they should be on that playlist as much as the new kids. It's just, I suppose, when you get the ageist, and you're not given the same chance for no real reason. Like for me, as a long time lamb, Caution's up there with one of my favorite albums as much as Music Box. Obviously, they're different times, different eras, different sounds. But it like Caution is a vibe, you know what I mean? It's quality.
Mm-hmm.
I think even the kids, I was only hearing even some Justin Bieber songs yesterday from his latest album, and I'm like, this is really Caution vibe. She's really sets the standards every time, but she just for some reason can't break that barrier, and that's because people aren't putting her on the Spotify playlist. The DJs won't play her because she's of a certain age. So she's really battling against all forces to be as still relevant as she is today. I think it's very sad. She should be on a pedestal for all that she's done and everything she's done for the music industry. She shouldn't be an artist that battles. She should be applauded.
I agree. I completely agree. Well, what do you make of the the decline in numbers and the situation these days?
Do you know what I have to say? I think that it does bother Mariah. I think Mariah's from that era where album sales and sales in general were everything. So her career has been based around, she sold this many copies. She's like she gets introduction. She's the best-selling female artist, and I think that sales really, really matter to Mariah. I think it's changing recently. I think she's starting to understand. I think she's worried about putting an album out and flopping. I really do believe that she kind of is that, but I feel that she's over it a little bit now in terms of Caution got great feedback and like great reviews and stuff. And I think she's realizing that is just as equally as important as sales. But at the same time, I do think that Mariah does check sales. I think that she's very interested in charts. She's interested in figures. She's always spouting out like, oh, this many number ones, like blah, blah, blah. Like she's proud of it, which she should be.
She should be.
Yeah. But 100% she should be. But it is a different time and it's a different place. And it's comparing. It's like comparing apples and pears. Like it's completely different era. It's not just Mariah's not selling the same. It's Madonna, is every artist that's been a massive success.
How dare you swear at me on my podcast? I'm kidding, darling. But no, it is a different situation, you're right. And I guess she's had to shift her mindset. But she does care. And actually, Taz, I have a little soundbite here. Mariah does care because on her Caution World Tour, she was presented with some like one of those certification plaques, and she asks an important question. So I wonder if you both remember this.
Mariah, it's an incredible honour to present you with this award for 20 times platinum sale in Ireland.
How much is it?
20 times platinum.
Wow. Have we reissued? Have we certified the album?
Not yet.
I think it's perfect. This is so great. Thank you so much. Look at all this.
So yeah, she cares. Do you guys remember? In fact, I know you, because you reminded me of this. There's that cute video clip from her Twitter, and she's there being presented. She cares. She cares because she's asking the right question.
She cares. She wants to, because she knows that every certification is going to bump her up there, and she wants to be the best-selling female artist, and it's based on certifications. So they don't look they're adding up them certifications. So she wants as many as possible. I think in America she's joined at the minute with Barbra Streisand. So they both have the top. They are both the top. So if she can get another one, she's above Barbra Streisand, and trust me, she cares. She wants them sales 100%. I'm like, MC30 is proof that with all these vinyls.
Like, I'm no expert in charts and I'm no strategist or anything like that, but like from my own observations, even if Mariah drops like a new single or whatever, I always find like she'll put out the single, she'll get it out there, it'll flow out as it does, and then she'll hit us with like maybe a lyric video, and then maybe even possibly a video. Where I see other artists doing it all at once. They hit you with they'll hit you with the new track, it'll go big on Spotify. Same day they're getting and all of these are obviously all contributing to the Billboard charts because they're counting in. I just don't know why Mariah and her team try. Like, for me, it's not as wham bam. Like, she probably could have chart higher if she was to if we were to go on YouTube to look at the lyric video. 3 days later, we're seeing the actual video. It's Spotify, it's doing its thing because everyone's listening to it. Like, I just think she uses it. I don't know if that is just her team or is there a reason behind this. Would you have any insight? Like, that's now, I'm not saying this is exactly as it is, but just from my own perception. Like, you'd see, as I said, Ariana, Justin, all doing it this way, but she doesn't seem to do it that way.
Do you know what is really important, actually, in terms of, not specifically mine, but in terms of the music industry now? Obviously, with every song, the vying for Spotify plays, getting on Spotify playlists, album tracks rarely get put on Spotify playlists. So if you are releasing an album, you don't want to just put it all out there because they're only going to pick one song to put on a playlist. That's why these slow features, so that they can add them to different playlists bit by bit. So by the time the album comes out, they might have already had a lot of songs already out there, but that's so they can go into playlists. And I noticed that on Caution, Mariah was really upset about that because she was like, they've put all my songs out before the album. She's thinking in the old mindset, whereas like people are going to hear the song and go out and buy the album. That's done and dusted. That's not how it works now. Like, they need them songs to be in the playlist. So that's why they're getting spoon-fed out so that they can go in the playlist 1 week and then they might put another playlist in another week. If they're putting an album out, they're not going to pick 10 songs off an album. So that's, Mariah's in a really old mindset thinking like that.
That does answer, yeah, that does make sense to me. I know that I was a bit like, oh, we're doing these, instant graps as they're called, and she referenced it once.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing these instant graps, and I hope it was a smart thing to do because 4 of the 10 tracks were out, and I was like, what is the strategy behind this? But yeah,
it's playlist.
There is a reason. It's playlist. That makes sense.
They need it in the playlist. If it's not getting in the playlist, then it is irrelevant pretty much. And album tracks rarely get put in playlists.
I imagine there's some push and pull because Mariah's got her lessons and that she's learned along the way, her thoughts and feelings, her preferences. And then there's people that are like, well, do we challenge her with that or do we not? Like, maybe... I think there's many conversations to be had. I think that's a different chat for a different day in terms of the handling of her career and the business decisions and how many of those, what's a single, what's not, the order of release, how releases are rolled out. We're going to have to leave it there for today because we are almost out of time, but we have got just enough time to play my resident game here on my podcast, Spin, Pin or Bin. So I'm sure you know how it goes. Let's have a quick game together. So, spin, pin or bin. I have got Mariah's entire catalogue, apart from every single club mix and the Christmas collection, but there's still a few hundred songs here in the list. I am going to use my random generator to select 3 songs at random, and you have to choose what are you going to spin, what are you going to pin, and what are you going to bin. And listeners, you can play along, and you can also let me know on Instagram, on the Hey Lamb podcast, what your choices are. So, spin is going to be play it, love it, spin that shit now. Bin is you have to throw that song in the trash. You never get to hear it again. It goes in the bin. Pin is like the middle ground. I'm not going to throw it, but I'm not going to play it right now. Put a pin in it for now. It's for later. Okay? Boys, ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the first song that comes up, we're going right back to the debut, Prisoner.
My favorite.
It splits people. Some people love it. Some people aren't here for it. First one is Prisoner. Okay. Second one that's come up is I'll Be There. Very popular cover. And third one. Okay, we have another cover, I Still Believe. So those are the 3. You've got Prisoner, I'll Be There, and I still believe. You got to spin, you got to pin, you got to bin.
Oh, I'll spin. I'll bin. I still believe. If it was a remix, I'd spin. But I'll bin. I still believe. I'll pin. I'll be there, and I'll play prisoner.
Will, how about you?
I would bin. I'll be there. I do like it, by the way, but compared to these other two songs, I would pin I Still Believe, and I would play Prisoner on repeat like I do anyway. Like, definitely Prisoner up there at the top.
I mean, this game's going to be easy sometimes and difficult other times. It just depends what comes up at random. But I'm going to risk being unpopular on my own podcast because I'm going to spin I Still Believe. It has been one of my favourite covers that she's ever done, and until Out Here on My Own came along, I think it really was my favourite cover. I really love I Still Believe, so I'm going to spin that. I'm going to pin I'll Be There, and I'm actually going to bin Prisoner. I don't want to be too controversial, and you're making faces
Mariah
at me,
hates it herself.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's just, it's very, like, it's 1990. She's doing her thing. I love it for what it is. But really, what am I going to, I don't need to hear that, like, all the time. If I had to retire one and not listen to one ever again, it probably would be Prisoner, because I'd like I'll Be There to still be around, and I actually can't let go of I Still Believe. So, yeah, that was Spin, Pin, or Bin. So guys, if you are following the Instagram account for the podcast, it is Hey Lamb Podcast on Instagram, and let us know what would you spin, what would you pin, and what would you bin. Guys, we are out of time, but I've really, really enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much.
Great.
Will, perhaps we can have you back again and we can delve into the singles side of things.
Let's do it, definitely.
And Taz, always a
Definitely.
pleasure to have you, and I'm sure you'll be back on the podcast again sometime soon.
Of course.
Okay, thank you so much for listening, and thank you both for joining me. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.